Lenin adored music, and this is his beloved piano. His favourite piece was Beethoven's Appassionata. I would listen to it every day, he said. What wonderful things human beings can do. But Lenin also feared music, recognising its unique power to manipulate us. And now you mustn't. You must hit them without mercy.
Exploring how, in a radical war, I'll discover how to inspire revolution has pride of place in this commemorative LP box set of Lenin's favourite songs, issued by the state-owned.
It's a stonking selection. There are some cracking titles in this, like March Bravely, Comrades, there's Youth, Rage Tyrants, and my personal favourite, Evenings at Home with Lenin apparently often included a jolly good sing-along. A friend of his later recalled, Vladimir Ilyich had a rather pleasant, husky voice. Usually begin the evening singing the Internationale and tormented by the hardships of prison with great feeling. Boy, did those Bolsheviks know how to have a good time.
In 1920, Avramov submitted a proposal to the Soviet People's Commissar for
Class struggle. In Russia, the piano was seen as the king of all instruments. In fact, the word in Russian for grand piano is royal. So Avramov thought, just as the Romanov royal family had been violently murdered in the revolution, the sounds of old imperial Russia had to be destroyed too. Now, what I'm about to do gives me no pleasure at all, but I have been promised that this instrument is at death's door and needs to be put out of its misery. This is all in the spirit of the revolution, you understand. Safety goggles on.
The streets, wrote revolutionary poet Chiz, let there be thunder.
Think of a symphonic premiere, and you might imagine a
The fact is, for all its revolutionary principles, avant-garde music was never massively popular.
Singing songs to rally people round the Soviet cause, or as a form of education and enlightenment, bringing culture to the masses. It could give voice to the radical spirit and shed light on the class struggle. Whatever your political stripes, people truly believed that music wasn't just a mirror to society, it was a tool to really change things. Was convinced that musicians should be forging the future. If music cannot service society as a whole, he said, it forfeits its right to exist in today's world. He was also determined to bridge the age-old gap between elitist, highfalutin classical music and popular song. What Weill wanted was art for the people, to have his music heard on the grandest stages and also whistled by people out on the street. It was a tall order. The Thrupney Opera it's about the kind of seedy underbelly of the city. How much do you think audiences who came to those first productions in the 20s would have felt it was about their own world?
From their daily life, because Berlin was full identified with the characters on stage.
That jazzy Hollywood Broadway version, it's a particularly dark, menacing way of doing that. How much is that sort of authentic to the spirit of the way that Brecht show had genuinely changed attitudes? I'm not so sure about that. Certainly today, the political message has receded, and what you're left with is the infectious brilliance and energy of Kurt Weill's score. Great entertainment with great tunes. Horst Wessel's song was a mishmash of various other tunes. He even deliberately plundered a communist favourite just to wind them up. His song was easy to sing, easy to march to. It packed a real punch. But it might well have been lost to history had it not been for a dramatic turn of events.
One speaks to elderly people today. They say, yes, Hitler was not in principle not very good, but he did some good things. He brought work for the people. It's
like, what have the Nazis ever done for us? Cultural history and human history, but we have still respectability. These weren't thugs, they were civilized people. They loved Bach and Beethoven and Wagner. The problem with that, for me, is that I also love Bach and Beethoven and Wagner. And it makes me realise, I think, at a very subconscious level, that I think I've always assumed that classical music was a good thing, that it's somehow noble or civilised to love it. And yet, when you think about the relationship between music and National Socialism, that is patently nonsense.
Jewish blood would influence the character of the music.
Because it's not racially pure? I mean, it's nuts. It's like craziness.
It is crazy. It looks like Germanic, it sounds like Germanic, but it is not. Real Germanic is only Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, Bruckner, and so on. And if German music, then the Germanic people will be a better people.
To avoid musical contamination.
So this is the utterly compelling Music and Race, something to send you to sleep at night if you need that. This is a very catchy title, this one, Judentum und Musik, Jews and Music, ABC. This is the Nazis' attempt at a comprehensive blacklist of everybody they thought was musically verboten. So you get everybody in here, from the piano teacher up the road to the kind of biggest international figures anywhere on the music scene. If I just take a look at some Kleins, none of them any relation, but let's see, we've got SuzyKlein, pop music composer from New York. Of course, Felix Mendelssohn is in there. It's just, to me, a kind of stunning testament to how powerful the Nazis must have felt Jewish influence in music was. It needed to be silenced. What mattered most was German culture and his place in it. He'd been banging on for years about issues that were close to his heart, things like copyright, royalties, German music, youth education, and nobody had really paid him much. Shostakovich undoubtedly left a message in his music, and it's this. It's a really odd, haunting little sequence of 4 notes, and it turns up all over the place. It's in several of his pieces. Now, composers for hundreds of years have loved the idea of making music a kind of code where the notes are ciphers that correspond to letters of the alphabet. Bach did it, so did Brahms, so did Schumann. And Shostakovich's cryptogram is absolutely essential for him. Let's hear it again. D, E flat, C, B natural. Now, in the German system, those notes correspond to the letters D, S, C, H. D, Dmitri, S, C, H, Shostakovich. And this is his way of saying, I am putting myself right into the fabric of this music, and whatever you take it to mean, you cannot obliterate me. It's very, it is the kind of music to make you want to stand up and march in line. Music to get to young people's minds and their emotions.
In this series, I've been exposing music's unrivaled capacity to manipulate.
A series of letters to the Daily Telegraph, where the type of music that Vera Lynn sang was described as being a
Flabby amusement.
flabby amusement.
So incredibly sort of looking down your nose at it.
Yeah.
What, so the Brits might well have lost Singapore because they listened to Vera Lynn? That was
described as.
I'm sorry, a leather-lunged... What is a leather-lunged choir? It sounds revolting. Imagine they would have sounded brilliant. Yeah, I've got to get tickets to hear that leather-lunged choir.
That said, he was very good at it, and his music's still admired.
It's simply within the 5 notes, the first bit of... And then he even repeats it. Same thing again. I mean, a child could play that tune.
I was going to say that's the kind of thing you would play after 3 piano lessons. You'd be in there going,
yes.
I can play this stuff.
But then, how does he make it patriotic and how does he make it different? It's that famous descending bass line, which again couldn't be simpler on its own. But then you put the 2 together.
Even from the beginning of this piece, there's that rousing fanfare that just feels very spirited, bulldog British, and then lyrical loveliness. It's sort of all there.
Absolutely, but there again, that fanfare couldn't be simpler. So he starts with that, but then he gets a little bit sexy.
Oh, scrunchy.
And then what happens now?
The strings.
Strings come in, and there we go.
To share the soundtrack to national identity. Was the Nazis' broadcasting house in Berlin, Completed in 1933, the year after Britain's own BBC, it could be used as a weapon to attack the enemy abroad. So what did the Nazis pick from their musical arsenal? A bit of Wagner, some thigh-slapping German folk tunes. No, they decided on a little light swing.
You're a German flyer, you're the top. You're my
Let's go slamming down Park Avenue.
The original British radio stations for inspiration.
Weren't foolish enough to think that they could just dump their own culture onto the French and that audiences would buy it. They knew that to keep the peace, they'd have to allow homegrown music by French composers like Bizet, Berlioz and Aubert.
Those prisoners who weren't only being kept alive to fulfill one purpose. Nazis in the camps could demand performances at any moment.